Hello, this is Ifan from the Black Room, and today I want to go over a topic that was essential in helping me to define my trading plan to where it is today and to kind of better understand the bias and the mechanics that allow me to be a consistently profitable trader. So, this video will be very much kind of about the basics, the essentials of our approach to trading, and I'll try and keep it nice and short, but I think it's absolutely necessary. It's a question I get pretty often in the Black Room, when people join for the first time, or even seen as I've developed kind of new strategies over the last couple of years. What are the strategies that I trade? And I think for some people getting asked that question, it can be a very long-winded, complex question. For me, it's a very specific definition for what I call a strategy. And so I just wanted to share that with you, and then we'll talk a little bit about tactics, which is the more commonly more appealing side to trading. It's all the entries, the stops, the exits, all the nitty-gritty details. Okay, so the way that I approach strategies and tactics is I start with a goal. So what is the goal? And for me, as outlined in the very first page of my trading plan, the goal is to be a consistently profitable trader. Okay, consistently profitable. That is the goal. The strategy is the means in which to achieve that goal. Okay, so the strategies that I use are professional gaps, playing in the direction of the gap, gap bully, gap bury. That's when the gap has failed and broken through support or resistance in the opposite direction of the gap, and relative strength, relative weakness. And that's going to be relative strength, relative weakness to the Qs and SPY. So those are really the only three. There are other common ones: novice gap, climactics. I don't do them as much. I like the other three much more. They just fit me personally better. It's not that one is inherently better than any other. And so they just fit me a little bit better. And what I like about the strategies that I employ is that I can convey to anyone what my reasoning for a bias, why I'm choosing the direction that I'm choosing, without having to use any candlesticks, use any patterns, or reference anything volume like that. Okay, so let's just say we're looking at this AMTD. And if I were to just explain to someone, and I didn't have a chart, but let's just talk about what happened today. And I say, well, yesterday it was at, it closed $60.15, and today it opened at $56.50. So anybody who had any number of shares in this saw a dramatic change of $4 per share, right? From if they got it at the close, but at least anyone who has got long in the last 2 weeks is looking at a loss. So it doesn't have anything to do with necessarily the pattern or the shock value. We do have a system in which to rank the gaps and to rate them so we know which ones are higher quality than others. But if I were to say there's a dramatic change in price and some people are in pain and will probably be looking to sell, that's the formation of my bias. It doesn't have anything to do with any price or patterns. So that's the strategy. This would be the pro gap strategy. You have a gap. I'm looking to kind of be a part of that. People who are in pain, just want to get out, looking to sell, are worried about the trend being broken, whatever their reason is for selling, right? I'm now of the bias that AMTD will go lower today. Okay, and so if we establish that that is the strategy, I want to play in the direction of the gap, then when we get to the tactics, okay, now we're talking about patterns. We're talking about pullbacks, right? In the case of if I'm trying to play lower, a sell setup or a breakdown, okay? So that's the kind of thing that's going to keep me out of a play like this, because this here would be a breakout. But what is my bias? My bias comes from my strategy, which is I'm playing in the direction of the gap. I want to play a pro gap. So when this breaks out to make a new intraday high, I'm not going to be chasing this, trying to play this higher, or even, it doesn't even have to be chasing. You could just be playing it as a play, as a breakout. I'm not going to be doing this. Are there going to be times when there's a pro gap and it breaks out and goes higher? Of course. But I know that I'm not going to be playing this. Now, when can I be playing a breakout, right? I'd be on a pro gap up. Okay, this, right, moved up, and then we get a base, and then we get a breakout. Okay, and then this set up kind of a different strategy, right? It extended down into support, never really went climactic. If you play this bounce, you can play this bounce. It's like something like this, good example of something I don't do, but they work. So this, but this I can. Okay, so this is the breakout that I can play. Okay, on the AMTD, this kind of breakout, I'm not going to be playing. Right, so that is the tactics. The tactics is, how do I get in? How do I know when my entry is? Where would I put my stop? And how do I take targets? Okay, in this one, as it makes new highs and you're trailing, right, that's your tactics. That's your management. So entry here, it's about a 20-cent stop. Entry here over 2080, stop at 2060, right? Also, how are you going to share size? Whatever your risk unit is, also part of the tactics. Okay, and then as it runs up, how am I going to manage this? How am I going to know when to take profit, right? Some people may just, I'll come back at the end of the day. Well, I guess this would take out your stop and see what I get. That's not that common of an approach. More people are going to say, well, this moved up 5 Rs, and then I'm going to look to trail or look for a place on the daily chart that is relevant to the price level where resistance might be. Okay, so all of that is the means to execute your strategy. Okay, so in writing my plan to get me from what I want to be when starting my plan to how can I outline that process that I can do every day. Want to be a consistently profitable trader. What are the strategies I'm going to do? Professional gap, gap bully, gap berry, and relative strength, relative weakness. How am I going to execute those strategies? So then that's when your patterns, your entries, how do I know when to get in, when to get out, right? Those are the tactics in which to execute the strategies. Okay, and that's really, I think, all you need to really develop a plan. I hope, everyone has worked on their plan and has a structure that they feel comfortable with and pretty much knows it by heart. But for me, that was a big changing point. For me, it started off with, well, I would like take a picture of this and then put this in my plan and be like, well, I want to be able to do this, right? I want to be able to do this. And I think as I've done, more moderating and now one-on-one coaching, that I want to be able to convey things, not just say, look at this picture. Okay, just do this picture, repeat it, and do it, and it'll work, right? I want to be able to convey things. So I think that's been a big part of, can I explain the strategy? And if you go back and look at the kind of the top trading strategies for 2018 that I did early this year, I want to make sure that I understand what are the emotions for the participants that are in the trade or involved in the symbol, right? And without having to just always say, well, this is the pattern, it looks like this, or use any kind of generic or catchy names for it, like this is Three Rivers, and this is a falling star, and this is a head and shoulder, and cup and handle. It's not that there's anything wrong with those patterns, but if I only just memorize those patterns without understanding kind of the underlying, right, then for me, I think it's hard to have confidence in the patterns that you do, in the strategies that you do. So I just wanted to bring up that distinction because I think it's a question that a lot of people ask, for the moderators, for the people in the room, and I wanted to give my specific take. It's not necessarily, I wouldn't be surprised if Ryan and Sammy's definitions of these things are a little bit different. But for me, it was really a turning point in being able to structure my plan, lay the foundation for my trading plan, which is what I basically execute every day. Okay, so hopefully you found that somewhat insightful, or even took away something from it that can help you better define and structure your trading. All right, and so hopefully that gives you also some insight into the approach that we take in the room. Every trade needs to have strategy and then entry and plan for exits. Okay, otherwise it's an incomplete trade. Okay, and we have that for every trade in the room. All right, so hopefully that was of some help to you, and look forward to seeing you in the black room.